Well, the steps already declared are indeed game-changing. The steps, rather, already declared are game-changing in the sense that Turkey is throwing the UN peacekeeping forces out of the area and is redrawing the map of an area specifically dealt with by the United Nations Security Council through resolutions 550 of 1984 and 789 of 1992. Turkey intends to occupy the greater area of Famagusta. For tactical reasons, though, they decided to go ahead with incremental occupation so that the impact of their actions is lessened internationally. They are at the same time testing the reaction of a number of interested quarters, including, of course, the legitimate owners of the properties, who are none other than the Greek Cypriot Famagustians. We must remember that Bülent Ecevit, in speech in Bonn, Germany, in 1978, had already sealed the fate of the area of Varosha, saying the following, that the value of the area in economic terms for the Turkish Cypriots equals the value of half of the island. Yeah, good question. We should expect that the Turks were methodically following their plan, and by this I mean Dr. Nihat Erip's plan of November 1956 of regaining the whole of Cyprus, will in due course proceed with other areas. The Turkish army embarked on territorial readjustments along the so-called Green Line on a number of occasions in the past. Remember the Strovilla incident. The Cyprus government will be letting its own people down again and again if it continues to feel content by simply complaining to the United Nations and or the European Union, satisfied by non-enforceable statements or resolutions which are not issued under Chapter 7. It should, Chapter 7, I mean, of the United Nations Charter. It should reconsider its approach to our national problem, which is and has been existential, and call a spade a spade. We are a small country which has been invaded by a rock state, namely Turkey, which intends on gradual occupation of the whole island by changing its demography, taking territories and bullying its way in order to achieve legitimization of its illegal actions. At the same time, our government should strengthen our diplomatic relations, strategic agreements, and military cooperation with other friendly countries whose interests coincide with our interests. Last but by no means least, it should reinforce our army by the necessary financing. It should at last behave like a government who are willing to protect their citizens who are in danger of extinction by a ruthless expansionist enemy who is already inside their home. This is a nasty, sinister Turkish trick using FCAF. This is a ploy to lure the Greek Cypriots to apply to their so-called immovable property commission and at the same time show goodwill in inverted commas. Based on precedents and opinions by eminent lawyers, both local and foreign, the Turks never return properties to the applicant refugees. They snatch their properties for a handful of euros as the price for the sale of the said properties and claim that the therapy was offered and accepted. A documented response to this was given again recently by distinguished ex-judge of the Supreme Court of the Republic of Cyprus, Judge George Arestis, a Famagustian himself, in an interview to Simerini on 4th July 2021. As far as the role of FCAF is concerned, the whole story of FCAF was finalized before the declaration of the independence of Cyprus in 1960. So there is no case there. Well, Turkey and the Turkish Cypriots aimed at a two-state solution since before the London and Zurich agreements in 1960, and they had the backing of the British Foreign and Commonwealth Office to those aspirations. Hence, following their coup against the Republic in December 1963, it was first the Foreign and Commonwealth Office who had asked its department, actually the minister in charge, asked the Department of Planning as early as 3rd January 1964 to prepare a study for the reconstruction of the Republic of Cyprus into two separate federal states, one for the Greek Cypriots, southern state, and one for the Turkish Cypriots, northern state. And it was Sir Crispin Tickell, who is still with us, he's still alive, was head of the planning department at the time. Incidentally, he later served as the UK representative at the United Nations to pass the notorious Resolution 649/1990, introducing the bicommunal bizonal federation with Vasiliou's consent. He was replaced by Sir David Hannan. In parallel, in April '64, the Turkish Cypriots in Cyprus issued a document on a similar lines for a federal Cyprus with two states, northern states and southern states. And this is what the Turkish Cypriots asked at Geneva too on 13 August 1974, when Rauf Deftash presented a bicommunal bizonal federation with a map, bizonal map. Rauf Deftash always reiterated the idea of two states, hence his unilateral declaration in November '83. There are other hundreds of references by Turkey and the Turkish Cypriots for two states ever since. Unfortunately, the Cyprus government, with George Vasiliou as president in 1990, played into the hands of the Turks and the British, accepting the prerequisite for the two states, the segregationist Anglo-Turkish bicommunal bizonal federation. And ever since, no president of the Republic had the guts to free the country from the shackles of the BBF. Instead, bowed and toed the line of the British penholders of the resolutions at the UN Security Council. Now, the only option left for the Cyprus government, in my view, and in the view of many others who have been writing about it, is to reverse matters most urgently. It serves to declare abandonment of the BBF, which Vasiliou accepted undemocratically without a public mandate anyway. He just did what he was asked to do by the British, and call upon the international community, the UN and the European Union, that the Cyprus issue is one of continued Turkish invasion and occupation, and ask for restitution of pre-1974 status quo in the occupied area of the Republic of Cyprus, and thus stop the gradual Turkification of the whole island. It will be the final chapter of Dr. Nikaderim's plan, that is to regain the whole of Cyprus. And this is what Erdogan is doing, and that is what Turks from Turkey, whoever is in power, and the Turkish Cypriots